We were excited for this Thursday morning with a focus on the association because finally, after a full week off, it is the opening night of the 2024 NBA Finals. Game number 1 inside TD Garden between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. But it seems as though, DRS, the NBA is not waiting till this Thursday evening in Beantown. It got started bright and early on this Thursday morning. A bombshell Adrian Wojnowski report for ESPN within the last hour that the Los Angeles Lakers are targeting UConn's Dan Hurley to become their next head coach, preparing to offer Hurley a long-term and lucrative contract to make him the head man of this Lakers organization for many years to come. Even further saying in that report by Woj, DRS, that a contract is already in place and they are planning to amp up those conversations in the coming days.
Strike while the iron's hot. This makes a lot of sense. You're a back-to-back national champion there at UConn. You are a sensational head coach, and your ultimate goal is to make as much money as you possibly can, which a move from Connecticut over to Los Angeles. I don't know what the dollar figures will be, but I assume Dan Hurley is not coming for anything less than more money than anybody has ever made as a head coach in the NBA. Sure. It's the right move. You go from Connecticut, you go to LA, you get LeBron James, you can sort of take that franchise over. And also, I like what we're hearing out of the Lakers. This isn't let's just go after a star coach. I like the back channeling here that's talking about, look, we want this guy to be our head coach. This isn't a splash in the pan. 4 years, $60 million, see what you can do. No. We want this long-term plan where you can be in Los Angeles for 10 to 15 years and really build that model as a superstar head coach. We talk about it all the time. Los Angeles needs stars. This guy is a star at head coach. I think this move would be absolutely phenomenal. Now, the college game would take a hit because Hurley's so good for UConn here. But granted, it's not as if, well, what's UConn going to do? He's the only coach that can win a national championship at UConn. We know that's not the case. Multiple coaches have done that over the past 20 years. But Hurley to LA was a lightning bolt this morning that we got before even going on air.
There are so many ramifications if this deal comes to fruition, but it should be said, yesterday we were reporting the news here in 7 and 7 to start off our Wednesday edition of the Early Line that FanDuel TV Shams Charania was reporting the Lakers had zeroed in on J.J. Redick as the organization's next head coach. The former protege of Adrian Wojnowski, Shams Charania, battling it out with his former master for who is correct on who the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers is going to be. We will dive deeper into this discussion, still very early in these preliminary conversations, in our next segment together, live right here on the Early Line. And oh, by the way, NBA basketball returns tonight with a championship at stake in game number 1 of the 2024 NBA Finals in Boston. But we start with some Major League Baseball recaps. Donnie Rightside could see the future. Many people here, myself included, balked at the idea of the LA Dodgers being a road underdog to the Pittsburgh Pirates, even on Skeens Day with Paul Skeens on the mound for the Buccos. We were wrong. Donnie, well, his last name is right side. 10-6 the victory for the Pirates. Paul Skeens improves to 3-0 in his first 5 MLB career starts, striking out 8. The Pirates win 10-6, a victory over the Dodgers in LA's only 3rd game as an underdog this season.
Yeah, shout out to the analytics crew. Stand up, baby, because we got a W yesterday and a big one. It was kind of odd when you say the Los Angeles Dodgers are a slight underdog against the Pirates. Where do I sign up at all costs? But when you took a look at the numbers yesterday, as we talked about 29 overall pitchers that qualified with 20 innings in 2024, the best on the card was Skeens. The worst on the card was Paxton. Played out that way. There you go. Walk away with a W if you took the Pirates.
And that really is what it was. James Paxton got shelled in the 2nd inning. The Pirates plating 7. What a battle it was on the other side. Paul Skeens versus Shohei Ohtani. In Ohtani's first AB, he was struck out in 3 consecutive pitches, all topping 100 miles per hour by Skeens, who had 8 Ks yesterday, the 4th time in his 5 starts, with at least 7 strikeouts in his outing. But then Ohtani hit a monstrous shot to dead straight center that was more than 400 feet in his next at-bat against Skeens. Ultimately, though, Pittsburgh does triumph on top. The Phillies complete a sweep yesterday. Some day baseball against the Milwaukee Brewers. Aaron Nola, sensational shutout work over 7 innings. And Nick Castellanos, a 2-run home run in the 5th. That was the only runs necessary for the Phillies, winning 2-0 over the Brew Crew.
Also, on a trip to London here, it's nice to have a getaway day where we pick up a victory, which includes a sweep over the Milwaukee Brewers, who were a first-place team. Only 6 combined hits in that game. But let's also talk about Nick Castellanos not having a great season. Had a walk-off in extra innings and now has the only runs accounted for in the Phillies' 2-0 win over the Brewers. So maybe that's a launching point for the Phils as they are now 44-19 before heading overseas to take on the Mets.
Across the pond they go. The Mets coming off a sweep in the nation's capital against the Nats as well. 44 victories for the Philadelphia Phillies, tied for the most in Major League Baseball as the Yankees have won 7 straight games. WNBA action last night and WNBA history last night for who should be the MVP this year. That's A'ja Wilson. A 36-point, 12-rebound, 6-steal performance as the Aces go into Dallas and knock off the Wings, winning by 14 and covering as a 9-point road favorite. A'ja Wilson, DRS, becoming the first player in W history to record 35 points, 10 boards, and 5 steals in a single game. A'ja Wilson, historic in many of the record books that stand in WNBA history. She notches another record mark last night.
On a night-to-night basis, like you take a look at some of these numbers, like, yeah, some of these ladies are putting up fantastic stats. Then you take a look at Wilson every night. It just feels like we're going to start to turn into like the Jokic effect. Like, when's the triple-doubles every single night where we're expecting 36 and 12s on a night-to-night performance? By far the MVP so far in the early WNBA season.
It was my best bet last night, A'ja Wilson, to record a double-double and an Aces victory. 7 games now for Las Vegas, the 2-time reigning champs. They have won 5 of them, and in 6 of the 7, Wilson has recorded a double-double. Interesting moment last night for the Chicago Sky as they arrive for their game in the nation's capital to take on the Mystics this evening. Security was needed to de-escalate a situation outside of Chicago's team hotel where reportedly, although there's still not a ton of images from the scene, there was an accoster there that was threatening Kennedy Carter. Of course, Carter was involved in the flagrant 1 foul of Caitlin Clark just a few nights ago.
Yeah, I saw the video, which I guess there's more to the story here. It didn't look all that bad, but at least now they have security and private planes where they can handle this, so it won't be an issue. But if we're talking about being treated equal, the men get this, the women get this, and here we go. We just hope it doesn't escalate any further than what we saw in that video, to be honest.
You should never be put into an uncomfortable situation at any instance, man or women, and we need to see further information. But many Sky players, including Angel Reese, taking to social media to detail what could be a very scary situation. By the way, WNBA officiating rescinding the second tech on Reese from 2 nights ago that had Angel Reese ejected. It was terrible officiating in the W. Oklahoma, 1 win away from its 4th consecutive Women's College World Series national championship as they roll over the Longhorns in game number 1 last night in OKC.
Yeah, how about that? A lot of long balls leaving the yard yesterday, but also just thinking about how OU probably shouldn't even be in this situation. Now it looks like they're going to be crowned national championship sooner, Ben, than later.
Sooner rather than later. 8-3 the victory for the Sooners yesterday. A ton of long balls to start for OU. Again, 1 win away from the first ever 4-peat in college softball history. Ryan Kelly, who's the Colts rep to the National Football League Players Association, says an 18-game schedule would be too many. DRS, you agree?
No, as all that means is pay us a little bit more money. We'll go to 30 games if you want, guys.
French Open semifinals start today on the women's side. Iga Swiatek versus Coco or Corey Goff. Dan Hurley news next. The 2024 NBA Finals begins tonight in Boston between the Celtics and the Mavericks. And we have been without true NBA content for a full week. The Celtics have not played in 10 days. And all of a sudden, on this Thursday morning, the NBA is back in full force, not just ahead of the opening night of the 2024 NBA Finals, but the bombshell reporting from ESPN's Adrian Wojnowski. He is known for dropping Woj bombs for a reason. At about 7 a.m. on this Thursday morning, I got a text from our executive producer, John Shames, because Adrian Wojnowski blocks me on Twitter that the Lakers are targeting UConn's Dan Hurley to become the next head coach of that Los Angeles organization. And apparently, as the report goes to further say, it is going to be a massive and long-term contract to lure Dan Hurley to the City of Angels and away from Storrs, Connecticut, where the Huskies have won back-to-back national championships in men's college basketball.
I'll tell you what's interesting is the news cycle we always talk about. You know, the bad news from leagues, when's it come, Ben? 4:59 p.m. on a Friday, so nobody can really talk about it over the weekend, and a lot of stories will happen, and then Monday you soften the blow. Just imagine this, though. The NBA Finals are on the verge here, and we get a story that's not planted like at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, or let me hold this story for when we open up our talk about the NBA Finals tonight live on the air. 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. on the East Coast here, we get this bombshell report about Dan Hurley, and also seemingly coming out of nowhere. So many times we take a look at, we understand the Los Angeles Lakers were waiting for their head coach zeroing in. It looked like it was going to be J.J. Redick, but at no time did we ever think and say, you know what? Maybe they're probing some of the bigger college basketball names to be a Lakers head coach, and none bigger right now than Mr. Hurley. I love this story coming down. There's so many pieces to talk about, but let's be honest with this. Sometimes we always talk about, Ben, the Los Angeles Lakers, and yes, they're going to rule the timeline, and a lot of networks love to lead with LeBron James coverage. I don't think they're just planting this story as something to talk about with the Lakers. There's no way we would get it worded by Wojnowski here with an absolute break-in on ESPN. We had to talk about it if there wasn't some smoke and fire, which means, Ben, they're probably 80% down that path and just coming to an agreement on some of those technicalities on how long this contract's going to be, maybe if there's exit clauses and how much compensation would be due if Dan Hurley was let go. But this certainly was a story we weren't anticipating, but it's great to finally talk about something like this.
So, yeah, DRS, a reporter of Adrian Wojnowski's magnitude does not tweet this out, does not share this report, even with the phrasing targeting, as opposed to the Lakers have hired or agreed in principle to a contract, whatever it is, even with the phrasing that is targeting, that could allow for something in these contract talks to dissolve over the next 48, 72 hours, whatever it might be. Woj does not tweet that out unless it is on the doorstep of being completed. But on the other end of the equation, Shams Charania does also not tweet out the Lakers are zeroing in on J.J. Redick as the franchise's next head coach if he is not darn certain that J.J. is on his way to L.A. What adds to all of this cluster is that J.J. Redick is on the call tonight for game number 1 in Boston of the 2024 NBA Finals on ABC. Will the large elephant in the room be addressed? J.J. Redick, who hosts a podcast with LeBron James. How awkward is that next recording if J.J.'s not the head coach of L.A.? And in fact, it is Dan Hurley. There are so many different wrinkles to this conversation. Just on paper, it would make sense for Los Angeles to target a head coach like Dan Hurley, who has had great success in college basketball, but success in college hoops, what is asked of you as a head coach of a program, very, very different than what you see in the association. Because, Donnie, you often say in the NBA, you are often hired to be fired. And when you are LeBron James's head coach, you do not often get the credit that maybe you are deserving of. If you lead the Lakers to success with LeBron, even at age 40 on the roster, it's like, good. You have the greatest basketball player or one of the greatest basketball players of all time. If you even fall slightly below expectation, it's not LeBron on the chopping block. It's you. It's Dan Hurley. But apparently, as the reporting states from Woj, that Jeannie Buss, of course, the owner or governor of the Los Angeles Lakers, and GM Rob Pelinka have had Dan Hurley in mind at the forefront of their coaching search the entirety of this offseason so far.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think it's a great move if the Lakers can actually pull this off. And I didn't think they would be able to do that. So you might be going with a new head coach like a J.J. Redick or just a retread to get in there that LeBron James is going to pick. But also, there's some interesting stories behind this timeline as well, because I love when this stuff breaks, and it's great that we're up early. Like, we catch some of the stuff like the Scottie Scheffler getting arrested, and we're first on it, but you can watch those initial reports come out before they're crafted. And one of the talking points, which is ridiculous for me, is this is the perfect coach for the Lakers because he's going to be the one to guide Bronny James when the Lakers draft him. Stop the madness. Like, we're not going to get Dan Hurley because we want to craft Bronny James into an NBA player. Like, this is a superstar head coach that's going, and also will have the ear of every single veteran player on that Lakers team, which includes LeBron James. Because, number one, he comes from basketball royalty. Number two, he's put his time in. He's been there, the high school head coach for almost a decade, going to Rhode Island, building that program, even even going to Wagner and also building that, and then staying up and saying, you know what, on the biggest stage at UConn, I'm going to win multiple national championships. Then I'm going to go to the pros. I think it's a perfect fit in Los Angeles. A lot of haters out there aren't going to like it, but please, just don't tell me they're picking Hurley because they need to get Bronny James going in the NBA. We don't need that added insult there. Come on.
So just a few months ago, Steve Kerr signed a 2-year contract extension with Golden State to the tune of $35 million. That's $17.5 million annually. Steve Kerr is the highest paid coach in the association. You would think Dan Hurley floats with that number. In fact, there are 3 coaches that make more than $15 million per year. That's Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, and Eric Spoelstra. 5 years, $70 million was the contract extension that Tyronn Lue just signed with the LA Clippers. I'm trying to do mental math as I speak live on air. That's a little bit less. That's $14 million per year. You would think Dan Hurley, at bare minimum, would be there, if not becoming the highest paid coach in the NBA. We'll get to some Major League Baseball recaps on the other side. But it's not just the LA Lakers and what this means for LeBron James and Anthony Davis moving forward and the rest of their offseason. If it is, in fact, Dan Hurley now at the helm in Los Angeles, what does it mean for Connecticut? A team in the hunt for 3 consecutive national championships that at this current moment is listed as a co-favorite to cut down the nets for a 3rd straight season on the FanDuel Sportsbook. A little bit more on Dan Hurley if he leaves stores next. The breaking news as of this Thursday morning, reported by ESPN's Adrian Wojnowski about an hour and a half ago, the Los Angeles Lakers are targeting UConn's Dan Hurley as the organization's next head coach. A preliminary contract is in place. The conversations will be ongoing and probably ramping up over the next few days. We have discussed what this would mean for LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and this Lakers franchise moving forward. The confusion in who might be the actual head man, with Shams Charania reporting the Lakers had zeroed in on J.J. Redick. All of that still outstanding. But, Donnie, there's also the conversation from UConn's perspective, where Dan Hurley has guided the Huskies to absolute dominance the past 2 seasons. 2 straight national titles in stores, with a perfect 12-0 record then, of course, in the last 2 NCAA tournaments, and winning every single one of those games by at least double digits. UConn is also listed currently as a co-favorite alongside Kansas to win this year's national championship. And last week, the news around the association in terms of those teams in the offseason was the NBA draft deadline, and players that had enlisted in the draft making their final decision if they were staying in the NBA draft or returning to college basketball, where Alex Caravan, one of the leaders for UConn, was coming back to stores to help lead the Huskies to 3 straight national championships. Dan Hurley was at the large UFC fight this weekend, I believe in Newark as well, and on camera DRS did this: 1, 2, and then flashed to 3, as in UConn is in the hunt for a 3rd straight national championship, and yet Dan Hurley might not be at the helm of this Huskies program in just a few days.
Or was that 1, 2, 3, I'm tapping out, I just got pinned, and I'm out of UConn, headed out to Los Angeles. So apparently that's really what it meant here. But it is interesting to see, and also where UConn goes from that perspective. Come on, Ben. There's one phone call that you need to make, and it's out in an area code in Arizona. You bring the brother into UConn. It is a perfect fit for Bobby Hurley to come back home to the East Coast here and coach up UConn right after his brother. Would love to see that happen. But also, we're no longer feeling bad for the players in college basketball. Just transfer out, get some NIL money somewhere else, just like your coach is doing in the pros. So it's not as big as it used to be. It's like, oh, no, coach left. I'm stuck here. Now I can't get out of my contract with my NIL, which never was in place before. And if I do leave, I got to sit out a year. It's fine, man. These kids are going to move all around. We'll probably make even more money doing that. UConn is in a tough position because you lost an outrageously talented head coach, but there are going to be some people that look at that UConn job and say, that's a really good job. I would like to coach there. So I don't think they're going to be any too worse for the wear after this is said and done, even though you're losing a legendary head coach.
DRS, a man of the people and a pro's pro, transitioning us to the next point. A reminder of how things work in collegiate athletics now. In any sport, after there is a head coaching change, the players on the roster have a 30-day window to enter the transfer portal and find a new destination if they so choose. So if Dan Hurley at a point this week becomes the Lakers' next head coach, a 30-day window for the two-time reigning NCAA tournament champions in men's Division I college basketball will open up to enter the transfer portal, and a roster that has cut down the nets 2 straight years could look wildly different if anybody even remains in stores. It is going to be open season for other college coaches across the country to get supreme talent on their rosters. Again, ramifications and things that will play out afterward if this decision, when this decision is ultimately made. Nothing is official just yet, but the Lakers are targeting, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnowski, Dan Hurley as the organization's next head coach.